Hi, I'm Health Coach Tara, and I've been helping clients overcome cravings for a decade. And today, I'm going to share my top tips for busting through the craving cycle. So be sure and watch all the way to the end, because I have some incredibly valuable tips in the second half of this video. If you're tired of fighting cravings and feeling deprived all the time, you're in the right place. These tips, when applied daily, are powerful at busting the craving cycle and putting you on the fast track to getting the results you want. Now, to make this happen, we need to begin with our mindset. So right now, I'm going to ask you to forget everything you know about cravings. Get curious. Think of yourself as a scientist or a detective searching for clues. Because cravings often have more than just one root cause. And it takes persistence and determination to overcome them. There's no one-size-fits-all solution to sugar and carb cravings. What works for some people doesn't work for others. So open yourself up to investigating this problem in a new way. And above all, take the time to absorb this information without pushing it aside and skipping to the next video with easier advice. Be willing to challenge yourself and do something difficult. Ask yourself, well, how badly do I want this? How badly do I want change? And am I willing to do something challenging to get there? Because here's the thing. Achieving a big goal like losing weight, restoring your wellness and vitality, or overcoming cravings means that you must take uncomfortable action and be willing to do hard things. You are the only one who lives inside your body, and only you know how that feels, and only you can do the work to make the changes that are necessary to improve how you feel inside your body. You can create a life and a body you love to live in. But you must be willing to open yourself up, take uncomfortable action, and change how you think about failure. So if this is something you're really struggling with, if you find yourself stuck in a cycle of self-sabotage, I invite you to learn about my 90-day challenge that focuses on breaking the cycle of self-sabotage, breaking the cycle of emotional eating, and feeling trapped inside of a body that seems to refuse to be healthy. I get it, because I've had that kind of body my entire life. It took over 20 years to get the first diagnosis that made any sense. So there's a link in the description of this video where you can explore the solution I've created. All right, now that you're ready to tackle your sugar and carb cravings with your detective hat on, let's talk about a few of the causes of cravings. So sugar and carb cravings can be caused by things like candida overgrowth, fungal overgrowth, allergies or food sensitivities, fatigue due to lack of sleep or poor sleep quality, high stress, especially chronic high stress, because the byproducts of stress, which are adrenaline and cortisol, can drive hunger and hormone imbalance. And of course, that's the next one. Hormone imbalance can cause cravings. Menopause, lack of movement or exercise, underlying conditions, when you're sick or getting sick, or even when you're just feeling run down. Sugar withdrawal. The addictive properties of sugar cause what's referred to as sugar withdrawal and contribute to cravings for sugar and other carbohydrates. Inflammation in your body. Now, I want to mention the inflammatory properties of gluten, because vital wheat gluten is in many keto bread products and that are labeled as low carb or keto friendly. But gluten in all forms contains a protein called gliadin, which helps form the gluten network that's so desirable in our bread and baked goods. What's important to understand here is that gliadin, along with intestinal bacteria, create a protein called zonulin. This leads to intestinal permeability by opening the tight junctions between our intestinal cells. So when these junctions open, things that shouldn't be able to get in between our intestinal walls now can get in. So this leads to immune response and a cascade of symptoms that are known as leaky gut. So I want to invite you to check the description to learn more about leaky gut when you finish this video. But for now, know that leaky gut often contributes to cravings for sugar and carbohydrates. Our habits also often result in sugar and carb cravings. For example, it's your birthday, and you've always celebrated with cake or a special dessert. So leading up to your birthday, you have intense cravings. Well, this is actually a habit you learned from a parent or from society. As human beings, we tend to celebrate with food, and our birthdays are no exception. So just think for a moment about other things that we celebrate and how food is a part of the celebration ritual. This is a deeply ingrained habit, an automated behavior, and it will take time to change. Now, this was true for me, and it's why I created the Keto Cupcake Cookbook. Now, my family always has a delicious way to celebrate and stay on track. So if you'd like to get a copy of the cookbook for yourself, you can get the link with the coupon code down in the description of this video. Have you ever referred to yourself as an emotional eater? Stress, the feeling of overwhelm, bad news, or other cues can trigger a strong emotional response that has you just reaching for the nearest comfort food. Have you ever heard the statement, "We become like the people we hang out with the most"? Well, this is because of our mirror neurons, and they can also trigger sugar and carb cravings. For example, say you're watching your favorite TV show, and they're eating one of your favorite foods. Suddenly, you're craving that food. This is your mirror neurons in actions. We tend to mimic what others are doing or eating around us. This is how babies learn to be adults. We learn to eat, walk, and even that those things are possible through our mirror neurons. So this is true of those living in your household, your coworkers, or anyone you spend time with. So when we're dealing with any of these issues, our mind and body crave carbohydrates and sugar because it knows that carbohydrate is a rapid source of short-term energy. So what do we do about these sugar and carb cravings? Now you're going to want to write this down, so make sure you've got your notebook and pencil ready. The first step is building awareness, which you're already doing. So, good job. Next, we're going to create a list of reasons that sugar and carb cravings might be a problem for you right now. Again, there is no one-size-fits-all solution. So once you finish the video, play it again and write down all the causes of sugar and carb cravings that I listed that might apply to you. Then you'll have a list of things to investigate and work on with your detective mindset. The next thing we need to do is challenge our mindset and our habits. When we're struggling, our body often throws up carb cravings. But fueling our body with sugar and carbohydrates is a short-term solution to a long-term problem. In the best case, you feel better for a few moments while you're enjoying the carbohydrate food or sugar. Worst case is that giving in to the craving is feeding the underlying condition, and it makes the carb craving cycle even worse. So for example, let me give you a real example from my life that happens. So let's say I'm up later than usual for a class I'm taking. So that night I get only 5 hours of sleep instead of my normal 7 to 8 hours. Additionally, I step into a high stress day. I have a lot on my mind. Inside my body, I'm struggling with a leaky gut, which has compromised my immune function and is contributing to inflammation. So as a result, my endometriosis has flared up. As I sip on my morning coffee, I feel hungry right away. Since I usually fast 14 to 18 hours, eating this early isn't part of my daily routine. My body feels tired throughout the day, and carb cravings become intense. All I can think about are those tortilla chips and salsa in the pantry that our teens brought home last night. So then I spend 30 minutes on Uber Eats looking at all the food I could have delivered to my door very quickly. So let's say on this day, I give in and order something. I enjoy eating the food, it feels indulgent, feels highly pleasurable. But after I've eaten, how do I feel? Do I feel energized? Is the fatigue gone? Am I ready to take on the day now that I've given in to the craving to fuel my body with carbohydrates? So now it's your turn. Ask yourself, how do you feel after you do something like this? Pause here and write down how you feel after you give in to temptation. Write in a journal or a note on your phone or tablet. This step is important, so I encourage you don't skip it. This is important because it will help you break the cycle of giving into cravings. Instead of letting those negative thoughts creep in, that self-criticism, spend 10 minutes journaling about how you feel physically and emotionally. Write down the negative thoughts that are coming up. Think of the cheat meal as a scientific experiment and become an observer of what happens in your body. Our hypothesis in my example is, will giving into craving actually provide the energy my mind and body thinks it will? Other questions you can ask is, how does giving into a craving make me feel in the following 24 hours, both mentally and emotionally? So building awareness around the consequences of giving into cravings is the first step in changing the behavior. So I often assign my clients an assignment. And what they do is they write their future self a letter after a cheat or after an indulgence. So they'll write themselves a letter about how they feel, kind of how the questions I just asked you. When they're done, they place the letter in an envelope and write their name on it, and underneath, next time you want to give into cravings, read this first. Now, one of my clients even took a photo of this letter and used it as her screensaver and on her lock screen on her phone. Brilliant. So do you remember earlier when I asked you to become curious and open-minded? This is where it comes into play. Often we'll hear advice like this and immediately dismiss it and move on without even trying it. We tell ourselves, oh, that won't work for me. In this situation, just practice pressing that pause button in your thoughts and raise a mental red flag. Take a deep centering breath or two, and then ask yourself a tough love question. Wait a minute, have I actually tried this? What do I really have to lose by giving this a chance? Could it be the thing that makes all the difference and finally gets me out of this craving cycle? Because here's the thing, cravings will always be a part of your life, but we can improve our habits and our behaviors with enough knowledge, practice, and determination. So now it's time for you to go back through the causes of sugar and carb cravings and to create your investigative list. Once you've written down all the things you need to work on, pick the easiest thing and start there. As you work through your investigative list, you'll build confidence and you'll pick up momentum as you continue to make forward progress. And when something doesn't work, instead of quitting and accepting the status quo, put that detective hat back on and ask yourself difficult questions. If this video has been helpful for you, share it with a friend who's also struggling with sugar and carb cravings. And be sure you've subscribed to my YouTube channel, Tara's Keto Kitchen, where I post videos like this regularly. And if you take the time to comment on this video or ask questions, I read those. This specific video was inspired by comments on our social media channels. So thank you so much for watching this video and supporting this channel. Until next time, this is Health Coach Tara wishing you the very best of health.